Good evening, everyone. My name is Deepali Garg. I am an assistant professor in Department of BCom, IIMT Group of Colleges, Greater Noida. So, today we are going to discuss the topic theory of demand. Before starting the topic, let us have a look on the different topics, different subtopics that we will be covering today. That is, first is theory of what is demand, then is the demand function, law of demand, exceptions to the law of demand, what are the factors or the determinants of demand, and why does the demand curve slopes downwards. In the end, we'll be having some MCQ questions moving forward. So let us discuss what is demand. Basically, basically in a layman language we can say that demand is the wish that I want to have a thing. It is basically a need of a person. But when we talk about demand in economics, we says demand can be defined as the willingness and the ability of the consumer to purchase a given amount of goods and services at a given time. Demand basically is considered as the willingness and the ability of the consumer. Demand consists of three aspects, that is desire, ability, and the willingness. Basically, desire means that I wish to have an iPhone. And ability is that I am earning rupees 1 lakh as income. So this means that my wish is to acquire an iPhone and I am earning rupees 1 lakh as income. But if I am not willing to spend this, if I am not willing to spend this 1 lakh, I am not willing to spend this 1 lakh, then this will not create my demand. This will not create my demand. So to create a demand, I must be willing. My wish should be to have an iPhone, and my ability should be that I can afford an iPhone and I am ready to purchase it. I am ready to spend. I am ready to spend rupees 1 lakh on the purchase of this iPhone. So this will create my demand. If any of this content is missing, it will not create my demand. Moving on to the demand function. Demand function measures how much of a given commodity consumers will demand at a given price, income level, values, or other variables that affect demand. So demand function basically is how much a consumer demands a commodity on a particular price at their given income at different, and the other factors also affect our demand. We'll be discussing these factors in the future. So with the help of demand function, we can conclude that demand shows the relationship between the quantity demanded of a commodity and its various determinants. So moving on to the types of demand function, there are two basic types of demand functions, that is the individual demand function and the market demand function. Now, what is individual demand and market demand? When we are talking about a single consumer, a single consumer, this will be our individual demand. And what will be our market demand? When we are going to consider more than one individual, when we talk about single individual, it will be an individual demand, and when we talk about more than one individual, it will be our market demand. So moving on to the demand schedule, when we representing the price and quantity demanded in a tabular form will be our demand schedule. So demand schedule is basically of two types, that is individual demand schedule and the market demand schedule. So what does individual demand schedule says? Individual demand schedule is a tabular representation of quantities of the goods and that an individual demands at different prices and time, keeping all the other factors constant. So we are here talking about only single individual, but under market demand schedule, we are going to take many individuals. We are going to take many individuals who are the consumers of a particular commodity. So here, let us say price and quantity demanded of consumer A. So this is basically of individual demand schedule. If your price is 1, the demand is 5, and if your price rises by 5 and your quantity demanded is 1, right? When I am talking about market demand schedule, I'll be talking about quantity demanded of A, quantity demanded of B, and the market demand, right? Let us say if the price is 1, 2, 3. So the quantity demanded is 3, 2, 1. And the quantity demanded by B is 4, 3 and 2. So to find out this market demand, what we are going to do is to add the quantity demanded by the different individuals. Like 3 plus 4 will give us 7, 2 plus 3 will give us 5, and 1 plus 2 will give us 3. So this is our market demand. This is the individual demand of consumer A and this is the individual demand of consumer B. But when we are going to talk about market demand, it will be total of all the individuals. So what is demand curve? Demand curve is basically the graphical representation of the demand schedule. We have talked about demand schedule in the previous slide. So now we'll be discussing the demand curve, which is basically the graphical representation of the demand schedule. We've already prepared the demand schedule, that is price and quantity demanded of consumer A, that is 1, 2 and 3. So at price 1, the quantity demanded is 3. At price 2, the quantity demanded is 2. And at price 3, the quantity demanded is 1. So now let us draw the graph. We need to keep it in mind that we have to name the graph. Like on x-axis, we'll be giving it name as quantity demanded and our x-axis will be our price side. So at price 1, here we can see the quantity demanded is 3. So the quantity demanded is 3. And at price 2, the quantity demanded is 2. At price 2, the quantity demanded is 2. And at price 3, the quantity demanded is 1. At price 3, the quantity demanded is 1. Now, let us join all these points. By joining these points, we'll get a demand curve. We'll get a demand curve. This will be our individual demand curve. This will be our individual demand curve. Now, talking about the market demand curve, we'll have price, quantity demanded of A, quantity demanded of B, and the market demand. So at price 1, 2 and 3. Price 1, the quantity demanded is 3, 2 and 1. Of consumer B, it is 4, 3 and 2. And when we talk about the market demand, it is 3 plus 4 is equal to 7, 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. Now plotting the diagram. This is our y-axis. This will be our x-axis. As we have discussed, this will be our demand side and this will be our price side. Now 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So at price 1, the quantity demanded, we have already drawn the diagram of consumer or an individual A. Now we are plotting just the diagram of market demand. So at price 1, the market demand is 7. So we have to have still 7, right? So at 1 it is 7. At 1 it is 7. At 2 it is 5. At 2 it is 5. And at 3 it is 3. So we'll be joining these points. This is our demand. Alright, this is our demand curve and we'll name it as D. We'll name it as D. So this will be our market demand curve. Now, what is law of demand? What is law of demand? Law of demand states that other things being equal, the factors other than price will be constant. Will be constant. Other factors will remain constant. But the quantity demanded of a commodity increases. The demand will increase if its price falls. If its price falls, and the demand will decrease when its price increases. So we can say from here there is an inverse relationship. There is a negative relationship between price and demand. So from here we can conclude that there is a negative relationship between price and demand. As we can see, when the demand increases, the price falls, and when the demand decreases, the price have increased. Here we can say that price is independent variable and your demand is dependent. Example is, if I talk about tomatoes, the price of tomato is 20, so the demand will be high. If the tomato price increases from 20 to 200, the demand will automatically decrease. So price here is the cause. Price here is the cause. What is the cause? Price is the cause. And what is its effect? The demand is the effect. Due to the change in the price, the demand is affected. Demand will increase or decrease if the price increases or decreases. So in simple words, we can say there is an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded, and we assume here that other factors remains constant. So here we can see the demand schedule is already mentioned. The price is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and at price 5 the demand is 100, at price 4 the demand is 200, at price 3 it is 300, at price 2 it is 400, and at price it is 500. So as the price is decreasing, the demand is increasing. We can see at price 100 it has risen to 500. Alright. Next is the assumptions. Now, what are the assumptions to the law of demand? There are some or the other assumptions that we assume. In the definition itself, we have studied that other things being constant. What are the other things which are being said to be constant? Let us see. There it is assumed that there will be no change in the income of the consumer. There will be no change in the size and the composition of the population. There will be no change in the taste and preferences, habits and the fashion. There will be no expectation of rise or fall in the price in the near future. There will be no change in the price of the related goods, and there will be no change in the taxation policy of the government. Now moving on to the exceptions of demand. Now till now we have studied that what is law of demand. Law of demand states as the price increases, the demand will decrease, and if the price decreases, the demand will increase. But in the exceptions, we are going to study if the price increases, the demand will also increase, and if the price decreases, the demand will also increase. Here, there is a positive relationship. There is a positive relation between price and demand. So let us see. There are some of the examples like exceptions include. First is Giffen goods. Giffen goods are those goods which are inferior in their quality. Inferior in the quality. So these goods are the goods that are inferior in comparison to the luxury goods. When we talk about inferior goods, these are jawar, bajra. We consider them as jawar, bajra. And if I talk about Giffen goods, these are the lower than the inferior goods also. So as the price increase of the Giffen goods, the demand will increase. If the price increases, the demand will automatically increase. And if the price decreases, demand will also decrease. The demand will also decrease. Now, what are the Veblen goods? We are talking about Veblen goods. Veblen goods are those certain goods that become more valuable as their price increases. These are basically when we talk about diamonds and jewelry, these are the most important examples of Veblen goods. If I say that somebody is presenting you a diamond of rupees 10, will you purchase? No. You will find it, you will say that this diamond is not of accurate quality. So you will not buy that. And if somebody says that this diamond costs rupees 2 lakh, you will say the quality is good. So if the product quality, if the product price is decreased, the price is lower, the demand will be lower, right? Let us see, if a product is expensive, then its value and utility are perceived to be more. We assume that the value and the utility of this product will be more. And then we are going to demand that product. And the next and the last point under exceptions to the law of demand is expectation of price change. Like if I talk about gold. If I say the price of gold today is 50,000 and it will be rising tomorrow. Like if I talk about tomorrow, it will be 60,000. So the demand will rise today. The price is high today also. Earlier it was 45,000, right? But the demand at this price, the demand will automatically rise, as we know that tomorrow it will be costing rupees 60,000 for per 10 grams. Per 10 grams. Alright. So if it is expected that there will be rise in the price in future. There will be rise in price in the near future. So the demand will increase today. We'll demand the product more today. Alright. If it is expected that price will fall in future, so the demand will increase today. So the demand will decrease today. The demand will decrease today. Alright. Now moving on to the determinants of demand. We have various kinds of determinants of demand. Amongst those, first is your price of commodity, price of related goods, income of the consumer, taste and preferences of consumer, expectation of price change, number of consumers, distribution of income, and government policy. So first is your price of the commodity. Price of the commodity says if there is a change in the price of the commodity itself, if the price rises, the demand will automatically decrease. For example, if I talk about onion. If the onion's price was 20 and now it has rose to 200. Like earlier the price was 20 and now the new price is 200. So the demand at price 200 will automatically decrease. Alright, the demand at price 200 will automatically decrease. Moving on to the price of related goods. Basically, related goods are of two types, that is substitute goods and your complementary goods. Now, substitute goods are those goods which can be used in place of one another. Used in place of one another. Like if I talk about tea and coffee, or if I talk about ball pen and a gel pen. Alright, these can be used in place of one another. If I don't have a ball pen, I can use gel pen. If I don't have a gel pen, I can use ball pen. Now, if I talk about if the price of tea, if the price of tea rises, the demand of tea will decline. All right, and the demand for coffee will increase. So from here we can say that there is a positive relation between substitute goods price and demand. All right, if I talk about if the price of tea decreases, the demand for coffee will automatically decrease. All right, if the price of tea decreases, people will demand more tea. Let us take an example. If I say the initial price, if the initial price of tea was 5 and the initial price of coffee was also 5, the demand for tea was 10 units and the demand for coffee was also 10 units, right? Now, if the price of tea has risen to 10, the demand has fallen down to 5 and the price of coffee remained same. So, the demand for coffee, or let us say the price has changed to 6. It has changed, it has increased, but not up to the 10. Alright, the price of tea has risen to 10. So here the demand for coffee will automatically rise. It will be 15. Alright, so from here we can say that the demand for coffee will increase if the price of tea rises. So from here we can conclude that there is a positive relationship between the substitute goods. Now talking on to complementary goods. Complementary goods are those goods which complete the demand for one another. Like if I talk about car and petrol. Car will be used only if we purchase petrol. Alright. So here if the price for car, if the price of petrol increases, if the price for petrol increases, the demand for car will automatically decrease. The people will buy electric cars or they will not buy cars. Alright. From here, we can say if the price of petrol decreases, the demand for car will automatically increase. Will not purchase the diesel cars or an electric car if the price of petrol automatically decreases. So from here we can say in complementary goods there is a negative relationship. There is a negative relationship between complementary goods. Now moving on to the income of the consumer. So from income of the consumer we can say if income is less, income is denoted by Y. Income is denoted as Y. So if the income of the person is decreased, more of inferior goods will be purchased. More of inferior goods will be purchased. As the income increases, the inferior goods demand will decrease, but the demand for normal goods will increase. Alright. Now, first of all, we need to know what are the inferior goods and what are the normal goods. Normal goods, when we talk about normal goods, these will be wheat or rice or pulses. When we talk about inferior goods, these will be your jawar and bajra. Alright. So, from here we can say if a person earns more, they will purchase more of normal goods, and if a person is earning less, if the income of a person is less, they will purchase more of inferior goods. Now moving on to taste and preferences. If the taste and preferences are in favor of the goods and services, So the demand will automatically increase. And if they are not in favor, unfavorable, then the demand will automatically decrease. Alright. Like if I don't like drinking coffee, I don't like coffee. So the demand for coffee will decrease. But if I like tea, the demand for tea will increase. Alright. Now expectation of price change. Expectation of price change is basically when there is an expectation, we have already discussed this point, when there is an expectation of price rise in future, when it is expected that price will rise in future, the demand will increase today for the product. Alright, the demand will increase today. And if it is expected that price will fall in future, so the demand for today will automatically decrease. Moving on to the number of consumers, if there is a direct relationship between number of consumers. If the population increases, the demand will automatically increase. Right? Population increases, demand increases. Population decreases, the demand will automatically decrease. Like if I talk about, I produce the products related to infants. If I produce the products related to infants and the ratio of infants increases, the ratio of infants has increased, the population has increased for the infants, so the demand will automatically increase. If I produce the products for females and the ratio percentage of female has risen, the demand for female products will automatically rise. Moving on to the distribution of income, if equal distribution occurs, if there is equal distribution of income, the demand will be more. And if there will be unequal distribution of income, the demand will be less. As we can say, 100% people will get equal salary, so they will demand more. And if there is unequal distribution, people, out of 100 people, only 10 will be able to purchase the product. So from this we can say the demand has decreased as compared to the equal distribution of income. Moving on to the government policy. The government policy directly has a relationship. It directly or indirectly affects, right? If the policy changes, if the government policy impacts the rate and price of the commodity directly or indirectly, the consumption of the normal goods decreases, right? If I say the government has increased the tax, raises the taxes, right? So now I will be paying more tax. Less of the salary will be left with me. Less salary will be left over. So the demand will decrease, right? If there will be less taxes, then I will have more salary left. So the demand will automatically rise. Second point is, if the government policies are flexible and reduces the rates and prices for the commodity directly or indirectly, consumption of the normal goods increases and increasing the demand for their normal goods. Now, why does the demand curve slopes downwards? Demand curve slopes downwards because there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Price and quantity demanded have an inverse relationship. So from here, we can also say that law of diminishing marginal utility is also the cause, right? What is diminishing marginal utility? It says as one more additional unit is consumed the satisfaction, the utility decreases. The utility decreases. Right? Example, if I am thirsty, I drank first glass of water and I got maximum level of satisfaction. If I drank second glass, I will have less level of satisfaction. So as more and more units are consumed, the utility tends to decline. So that is why the demand curve slopes downwards. Moving on to the MCQs. First question is, the law of demand states with increase in price there is decrease in quantity demanded, increase in quantity demanded, decrease in demand, or increased demand. So from here we can say with the increase in price there is decrease in the quantity demanded. Now, second question, the following would be which of the following would be included in exceptions to the law of demand? So, we have given goods, changing consumer taste, increasing consumer income, decreasing price of the product. So, from here we can say given goods is the right answer. As we have discussed, there are given goods, Veblen goods, or expectations of price change that leads to the exception to the law of demand. For what type of goods does demand falls with the rise in income of the household? With the rise in the income of the household, the demand falls for the inferior goods. We have studied two types of goods, that is inferior and normal goods. So if the income increases, the demand for inferior goods decreases and the demand for normal goods will automatically increase. Thank you.